Have you ever wondered what would happen if Canada decided to stop exporting its raw natural resources and instead process them all at home? This isn't just a simple question, it's a massive what if that touches on economics, jobs, and Canada's role on the world stage. Today, we're going on an analytical journey to explore this complex idea. We'll look at what Canada does now, what could change, the global impacts, and the hurdles along the way. Stay with us as we unpack the potential future of Canadian resources. First, let's understand the current situation, the raw export model. For decades, Canada has been a global powerhouse in supplying raw materials. Think timber, crude oil, minerals, and agricultural products. These are extracted and shipped overseas with minimal processing. This model has its benefits. It's relatively straightforward, creates jobs in extraction industries like mining and forestry, and generates significant export revenue, contributing to Canada's GDP. The global demand for raw resources is consistently high, making it a reliable source of income. Now for our first quiz question. Which sector is a primary employer in Canada's raw export model? A tech B, mining, C, retail. The answer is B, mining, along with forestry and oil and gas. This reliance on raw exports, however, means Canada often misses out on the value-added potential. When another country buys Canadian logs and turns them into high-end furniture, they capture the bulk of the final product's value. The same goes for crude oil refined into gasoline or plastics. Quiz question 2. What is the main economic drawback of exporting raw materials? A, high shipping costs. B, loss of value-added revenue. C, environmental regulations. The correct answer is B, Canada sells the basic ingredient but doesn't profit from the finished product. This brings us to a crucial point about economic dependency. Canada's economy can be sensitive to fluctuations in global commodity prices. When prices are high, the economy booms. When they drop, it can lead to economic instability, especially in resource-dependent regions. Quiz question 3. True or false? An economy heavily reliant on raw exports is less vulnerable to global price swings. The answer is false. It's actually more vulnerable. Furthermore, this model can limit economic diversification. By focusing heavily on extraction, we may underinvest in the manufacturing, technology, and innovation sectors that could process these materials domestically. Let us try question 4. Which of these is a direct consequence of a focus on raw exports? At growth in domestic manufacturing, less economic diversification. C, lower international trade. The answer is B. Finally, think about the long-term sustainability. Extracting and exporting resources at a high rate raises questions about resource depletion and the environmental impact of large-scale extraction operations. So, for our last question in this section, what is a major long-term concern with the raw export model? A, resource depletion. B, decreased global demand. C, lack of skilled labour. The correct answer is A. To recap, Canada's current model is built on exporting raw materials, which provides jobs and revenue but also leads to lost value, economic vulnerability, and sustainability concerns. Now, let's explore the alternative, the value-added opportunity. What could happen if Canada shifted to processing its resources at home? The most immediate impact would be on the job market. Instead of just jobs in extraction, we'd see a surge in demand for skilled labour in manufacturing, engineering, refining, and technology. Imagine factories turning Canadian lumber into modular homes, refineries converting bitumen into specialized petrochemicals, and food processors turning prairie grains into high-value consumer products. Quiz question 1. A shift to domestic processing would likely create the most jobs in which sector? At agriculture. B, manufacturing. C, finance. The answer is B, manufacturing and related skilled trades. This shift would also be a massive catalyst for innovation. To compete globally, Canadian industries would need to develop cutting-edge processing technologies. This would spur research and development, creating a knowledge-based economy centered around our natural wealth. We would be solving our own complex industrial problems, leading to patents, new technologies, and a reputation for industrial excellence. Let's have quiz question 2. Why would domestic processing encourage innovation? A. It requires new, efficient technologies. B. It reduces the need for imports. C. It simplifies the supply chain. The correct answer is A. Economically. Capturing the full value chain could be transformative. The final price of a finished product is always higher than its raw components. By processing resources domestically, Canada would retain this value add, leading to higher corporate profits, increased tax revenues for public services, and potentially higher wages for workers. Question 3 for you. What does capturing the value chain mean? A. Owning the raw material. B. Profiting from every stage of production. C. Reducing transportation costs. The answer is B. Moreover, a more diversified economy built on value-added industries would be more resilient. It would be less exposed to the volatile swings of global commodity prices. If the price of raw timber drops, a country that also sells finished wood products has a buffer. Our fourth quiz question. How does a value-added economy increase economic resilience? A. By relying on a single market. B. By creating diverse revenue streams. C. By reducing the workforce. The answer is B. Finally, processing at home gives us greater control over environmental standards. Instead of exporting our environmental footprint, we could mandate the use of the cleanest, most efficient technologies in our own factories and refineries, positioning Canada as a leader in sustainable industrial production. And our final question for this section. What environmental benefit could domestic processing offer? A. More control over industrial pollution standards. B. Less resource extraction. C. Exporting pollution to other countries. The correct answer is A. In recap, shifting to a value-added model could create skilled jobs, drive innovation, boost economic value and resilience, and give us greater control over environmental standards. Before we move on, if you're finding this analysis insightful, please take a moment to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. It really helps us create more content like this. Now, let's imagine a hypothetical scenario. What if, overnight, Canada legislated that 100% of its resources had to be processed domestically? Initially, there might be economic chaos. Our export partners would face massive supply shocks. Domestically, we wouldn't have the infrastructure to handle it all, but over a decade, it could trigger the largest industrial and infrastructure boom in the nation's history, completely reshaping the economy. It's a drastic thought, but it helps frame the scale of this potential shift. Let's turn to the world stage and examine global trade and diplomacy. A major shift to domestic processing would send ripples through international relations. For decades, countries have built their industrial supply chains around a steady flow of raw Canadian resources. A sudden reduction in these exports could be seen as an act of economic protectionism, potentially straining relationships with key trading partners like the United States, China, and European nations. Here is our first quiz question. How might a halt in raw exports be perceived by trading partners? A. As a positive development. B. As economic protectionism. C. As a sign of economic weakness. The correct answer is B. This change could also trigger retaliatory measures. Trading partners who depend on our raw materials might impose tariffs on other Canadian goods or challenge our policies at the World Trade Organization. This could lead to complex and prolonged trade disputes, disrupting other sectors of the economy that rely on free trade. Quiz question 2. What is a possible reaction from countries affected by a loss of Canadian raw materials? An increased investment in Canada. B. Imposing retaliatory tariffs. C. Offering financial aid. The answer is B. However, this move would also give Canada significant strategic leverage. By controlling the supply of not just raw materials, but also the processed goods derived from them, Canada could have a much stronger negotiating position in trade deals. We could dictate terms, secure better access for our finished products in foreign markets, and use our resources as a tool of economic statcraft. For quiz question 3, controlling processed goods could give Canada more what? A. Foreign debt. B. Strategic leverage. C. International criticism. The answer is B. Think of critical minerals, for example. Canada has vast reserves of lithium, cobalt, and nickel, which are essential for batteries in electric vehicles and consumer electronics. By processing these minerals into battery components at home, Canada could become an indispensable partner in the global transition to green energy, securing its place in the supply chains of the future. Let us try question 4. Processing which resources could make Canada essential for the green energy transition? A timber and wheat, B oil and gas, C lithium and cobalt. The correct answer is C. This strategic positioning also has a security dimension. In a world of increasing geopolitical instability, ensuring domestic control over key industrial supply chains is a matter of national security. A value-added model would reduce Canada's dependence on foreign manufacturing for essential goods, making the country more self-reliant. And our final question, why is domestic processing important for national security? A. It increases military spending. B. It reduces reliance on foreign supply chains. C. It isolates the country from global events. The correct answer is B. To recap, a shift to domestic processing would be a major diplomatic event, risking trade disputes, but offering immense strategic leverage and enhancing national security. Of course, this transition is not without its challenges. The first and most significant hurdle is the enormous cost. Building the necessary infrastructure, refineries, processing plants, advanced manufacturing facilities, and the transportation networks to support them would require hundreds of billions of dollars in investment from both the public and private sectors. Our first quiz question: what is the primary obstacle to building a domestic processing industry? A. Lack of political will be high investment costs. C. A shortage of raw materials. The answer is B. Next, there is the environmental factor. While it offers control over standards, industrial processing is energy-intensive and can generate significant emissions and waste. Canada would need to ensure that this new industrial base is built on green technology and clean energy to avoid simply trading one environmental problem for another. This is a massive engineering and regulatory challenge. Question 2. What is a key environmental challenge of domestic processing? A. Resource depletion. B. High energy consumption and emissions. C. Loss of biodiversity. The correct answer is B. Then there's the question of labour. A massive shift would require a national strategy for education and training, reskilling workers from other sectors and investing heavily in skilled trades, engineering programs, and technical colleges to build the workforce of the future. Our third quiz question: a national shift would require a major investment in what? A. Marketing and advertising. B. Education and skills training. C. International diplomacy. The answer is B. We also have to consider global market competition. Canada would be entering crowded markets, competing against established industrial powers that may have lower labour costs or fewer environmental regulations. To succeed, Canadian products would need to be superior in quality, innovation, or sustainability, a high bar to clear. Let us have question 4. What will be a major challenge for Canadian finished goods on the global market? A. Finding buyers. B. Competing with established producers. C. High shipping costs. The answer is B. So, what is the path forward? A complete, sudden shift is unrealistic. A more likely future involves a gradual, strategic approach. This could mean identifying key sectors like critical minerals or sustainable forestry products and creating targeted policies, tax incentives, and investment programs to build up domestic processing capabilities in those areas, one step at a time. And the final question: what is the most realistic approach for this transition? A sudden, complete overhaul. B. A gradual, strategic implementation. C. Waiting for other countries to invest. The correct answer is B. So, what have we learned? The idea of Canada processing all its own resources is a profound one. We've seen how the current raw export model provides a stable economic base, but leaves value on the table and creates vulnerabilities. We've explored the incredible potential of a value-added model to create jobs, spur innovation, and strengthen our economy. We've also weighed the significant diplomatic and strategic implications and acknowledged the immense challenges of cost, environmental impact, and competition that lie ahead. The path forward isn't an all-or-nothing choice, but a series of strategic decisions about where and how to invest in Canada's industrial future. It's about building a more resilient, prosperous, and sustainable nation for generations to come. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you enjoyed this analysis, please consider subscribing for more content. We'll see you in the next one.